Turn it around so it's pointing so you can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
if you just point, I guess maybe point it at me when I'm talking and point it at other people when they're talking.
Okay.
Hi.
Can I get a hug? Sorry, do you want me? Hi. Can I have a hug?
Nice to meet you. I think I'm going to try to go inside.
I'm good. How are you? You too. Sorry, I'm just trying to throw into your car. She's gonna crash.
Yes!
So I guess I don't need to introduce this guy, right? Wait, let him talk.
Thank you.
1998.
I wasn't alive then.
Wow. So, hi everyone. I am here in Atlanta for a supernatural convention, which I'm excited about. Yesterday I did not expect to find myself in a sushi restaurant talking about Hillary Clinton, but here I am. Pretty great. I'm just gonna tell you kind of why I think it's important to talk about. One is that we are in Georgia, and Georgia is not only an awesome place, but a battle. I keep on almost falling off this stage. It's what we're calling a battleground state in this. Your
face is blue now.
My face is blue. How's this lighting?
Perfect. Now I feel extra tiny. Thank you. There we go.
You have an H and a T on your face.
I have an H and a T.
Now it's like in, yeah, that's an H. Yeah. Hillary versus Trump? There you go.
So Georgia, at this point, could go either way in the presidential election, so it's super important for people to get out and vote, ideally for Hillary. I'm not one of those sort of blanket, totally equal opportunity people who says, get out and vote no matter who you are. Get out and vote if you're a Hillary supporter. I interned in the White House. I interned in the first Clinton administration, and I saw how things worked there from the inside a little bit. They didn't let me sit in on the highest level, top secret meetings for some reason. I know that they wanted to ask my opinion about a lot of things, but they felt it would be weird for the other interns. But I know that when I was in the White House, I know that Hillary Clinton had a reputation as a first lady of staying in her office, working late, and being incredibly driven and incredibly hardworking. And it never crossed my mind that she was there for any other purpose than to try to make the country a better place. That I know that was her motivation for being the many decades civil servant that she has been. So I know that her heart is in the right place, that she is trying her best in a flawed system to make our government work as well for us as it possibly can, and I am enthusiastically throwing my support behind her as somebody who has had a little bit of a glimpse behind the curtain. And I also think that it's a critical election because she is pitted against a demagogue who is very dangerous, and we can't afford to allow someone like Donald Trump have the codes to our nuclear arsenal. It's just far too dangerous. He is way too easy to bait with a tweet, and if an aggressive foreign power were to bait him with, you know.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hold on, let me get.
It's my phone.
It was Zoe calling.
It was me.
It was her.
Oh, you were calling. Oh, it's your phone.
Yeah.
Wrong phone. That's weird.
The angel of the Lord just touched your phone.
Does anybody have anything that they want to say or? Yes. Yes.
How are you, Misha?
I'm here with my daughter. She's 15. She'll
Yes.
vote in the next election for the first time. And there's going to be, there's first-time voters. So as a celebrity, you obviously have a lot of influence. What advice would you give to a first-time voter of how to form their own opinion about who to vote for, and not just be influenced by people around them? Because she and I talk about politics a lot. This is the first time she's really taken an interest.
Cool. I think probably we all are most influenced by the people who are closest to us. So we get, I think most of our information from our closest friends and our family members and our communities. But I think that it's almost like our civic responsibility to try to extend our reach beyond that when we're forming political opinions. It's important that people read. I know that sounds kind of old-fashioned, but we need to collect real information about things. And one of the things that has been scaring me about this election is the way the biased media is being portrayed as being not factual information, or being just a propaganda machine by Trump's campaign. This is a very dangerous mentality, because he'll go on Twitter and he'll say, I just won all these polls, but they're not real polls. They're not scientific polls. They're polls that just have Trump supporters clicking that he won over and over again on the internet. That's not a scientific sampling. That's not real data. And I think that one of the problems with our populace in general is that people have not developed critical thinking skills. They haven't learned that that's not a news source. Just because something has a fancy header on an internet page that looks like the semblance of a newspaper doesn't make it news. And these major institutions like the New York Times and the Washington Post, that have a long and storied history of journalistic integrity and ethics, that's where we should be turning for real information. And frankly, I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot here. You mostly shouldn't be listening to what celebrities have to say about the election. You should be going to news sources for your information. What Angelina Jolie has to say about ISIS is far, far less important than what the New York Times has to say about it. So read, be engaged, be interested. But I'm enjoying this. I've been doing this a little bit lately, like actually getting out and engaging with people in a dialogue. And that's also useful. And talk to people who have a different opinion than you. I'm trying to understand why people are voting for Trump, and genuinely interested, because there are lots of legitimate reasons that people are choosing to support him. On balance, I think that it doesn't make sense, but there are legitimate reasons. He's an outsider. He's not a part of the system. Some people like the idea of just wiping the slate clean and starting over, and he sort of symbolizes that. I think it's way too dangerous of an approach, but that makes sense, in some respects. Anyway, good luck. I'm glad for you that this isn't your first, that you're not being introduced to politics in this election cycle, because it doesn't have to be like this. It's not always this bad. By the time you're voting next, things should have improved.
We hope.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question.
Hold on.
I just wanted to thank you for standing up for the minorities who don't have as much of a voice in this election that Trump is not standing up for. That's what I love about Hillary. She cares about everyone, whereas Trump only cares if you're a straight white man.
Listen.
Got so serious.
I have to say, hate white people. So I get it. I know what you're saying. No, I think that's. I mean, I think you're pointing to something that's important, which is that a lot of the rhetoric that's coming out of Trump's campaign is fairly divisive. And I read an article yesterday that a lot of Facebook employees are really angry at Zuckerberg for not deleting some of Donald Trump's posts for being hate speech, because some of the things that he said in his posts on Facebook actually meet Facebook's guidelines of hate speech, like proposing to ban all Muslims from entering the country. Actually, by the terms as Facebook has defined them, constitutes hate speech that they say they will not allow people to post on Facebook. They have made, what I think is the correct decision, to allow those posts to be up, because it's a major presidential candidate and it's not their job to censor that sort of thing. I agree with Zuckerberg for not taking them down, but I think it's fascinating that those posts actually met their litmus test for being hate speech. Yes?
So recently in Trump's final words of the debate, he said that he wouldn't accept, or he basically implied he wouldn't accept the results of the election if Hillary won. This obviously has never happened before and shouldn't happen in our democratic system because of the transfer of power that is in place. So how do you think that he truly won't accept that, or do you think that he's just saying words like he usually does just to amass some kind of like outrage within like his supporters?
I do think that he's trying to sort of drum up a lot. I mean, he's playing into a lot of conspiracy theory ideas about how the election is rigged, he and things like that. It seems pretty clear that he's trying to hedge his bets at this point, because all indicators are pointing toward him losing the election, and Trump, he's not a great loser. He is. let me rephrase that. I think that he is a great loser, but he doesn't lose well. So I think that he's just trying to pave the way for him to have some excuses as to why he didn't win. But that said, it's an incredibly dangerous precedent, and one, I really hope that this isn't like turning the tide completely and setting the tone for future presidential contests. I hope that this is an anomaly. I hope that this is a blip, and that we can get back to having real discourse about real issues, that we can have a presidential election that is really about issues and not about personalities, and I think that that's what he has made this. I also think that him saying that he's not going to necessarily accept the outcome of the election is it's more just of his total outsider image that he's trying to cultivate. You know, he rejects the entire system. But I think that if you reject the entire system, maybe you shouldn't be running for president.
We've got time for two more questions.
Two more questions.
Is this way?
Yes.
Okay. I have to say, the first time
You have a Cat Steele shirt?
I have a Cat Steele. Yes. Thank you for being amused by that. But I have to say, the first time I voted, I very proudly voted for Bill Clinton. Older than I look, older than I act. I was very proud. I was very invested in our democratic system. But sometime, maybe after the whole hanging Chad incident, I've lost faith. With the Electoral College and all the states I live in generally vote Republican, and I've been dying to vote for Hillary for forever. But what can you say to convince me that my vote will actually count?
Well, your vote. I mean, I think that the fact that you brought up the hanging Chad incident in Florida, Bush versus Gore, is key. That election, the entire presidency came down to just over 500 votes. That is, I think, the strongest indicator you could possibly. That's the best argument anyone could give for your vote counts. It might come down to just a few hundred votes, particularly in states like Georgia, where it's a very close contest. Your vote matters, and you can make your vote count even more if you get your friends to go out and vote, if you get your parents to go out and vote, if you go volunteer for the campaign in the last couple of weeks of the campaign, you can make your voice, you can amplify your voice that way. But yeah, I think it matters. You can't let other people do your voting for you.
Even with the Electoral College, you don't think our system's broken?
It's a somewhat odd system that has, I think, some flaws, but it doesn't matter. It's a system that we have, so we have to work with it. I mean, we're not going to change the Electoral College system, and that was put in place for reasons that actually do make some sense. It's giving a voice to people that would otherwise potentially be underrepresented. But you know, that's our system.
Let's take one last question.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What do you think it says about America that Trump has been so successful in this sort of fear-mongering type of politics? And how do we fix that, whether he wins or loses?
I think that all people have triggers in them that allow them to be susceptible to fear-mongering. I think that we're kind of hardwired to be like, this is our group, our people, and other people can be dangerous, you know. And I think that when people tap into that, I think it's human nature, you know. That's why people manage to go to war. And if you engage in divisive and hateful speech, it's very Orwellian, but it can be very effective. It can be a very effective tool to rallying people around you. I think it's dangerous. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is that he loses, and he loses big, and that sets a precedent and shows people that we as a country are not people who are going to be rallied around hateful, divisive ideas. We as a country are going to be galvanized around hopeful notions. I hope that that's going to be the message that comes out of this, but it is scary that you know, that kind of
Possibility that it's not going to.
If it doesn't go that way, we'll have to rethink things. Let's not talk about that.
We're going to step outside and do some pictures with you all, so thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I'll just step that way.
I can turn that off.
Yeah.
All right, bye people on the internet.
Thank you.